our panel, Bernard Whitman, former pollster to President Bill Clinton, and we're also rejoined by Betsy Woodruff, politics reporter for the Daily Beast. Betsy, thank you for sticking around. Bernard, let's start with you on this. Why does it make sense for Bernie Sanders not to be in Indiana?
Well, I think it shows that the race there is starting to slip away from him, and ultimately the nomination is not going to be possible for Bernie Sanders. I think if Bernie Sanders really had a serious opportunity to win Indiana, he would be tripling down in Indiana. He recognizes his time on the national stage is about to shift. It's going to have to go into energizing his base of supporters to rejoin the Democratic Party, support Hillary Clinton. I think he did the right thing by showing up, got a good-natured laugh, but ultimately this race is all but over except the fat lady.
All right, so let's talk about the poll, since you're a pollster here. The latest NBC News, Wall Street Journal, Marist poll showing that in Indiana, Hillary Clinton is 4 percentage points above Bernie Sanders, which within the margin of error here. What do you take from these numbers?
Yeah, look, I think the race in Indiana is going to be close. Ultimately, I think Hillary will win by 5, 6, 7, 8 points. I think the larger prize, obviously, is California. I mean, we have to now wait another 6 weeks for the nomination to be fully decided. She is winning about 58 to 42 in California. Clearly, it's going to take California to put her over the top, but this race is really all but done, and I think that you can see Hillary Clinton recognizing that, taking advantage of the opportunity to welcome the support of Bernie Sanders voters. She's going to have to earn that support, which I think is fine, but ultimately she's starting to train her sights more and more on Donald Trump and setting up the incredible contrast that we have between someone who is sort of pro-woman, pro-family, pro-economy, and someone who wants to build walls, separate and divide people, as Donald Trump, I think, is likely to do in the general election.
Betsy, I want to get your reaction not only to the poll, but also what President Obama said last night when he actually turned his aim towards fellow Democrats at the dinner. Take a listen to this.
I've said how much I admire Hillary's toughness, her smarts, her policy chops, her experience. You've got to admit it, though. Hillary trying to appeal to young voters is a little bit like your relative who just signed up for Facebook. Yeah? Dear America, did you get my poke? Is it appearing on your wall? I'm not sure I'm using this right. Love, Aunt Hillary.
Everybody was fair game last night, Betsy, but how does this make sense for him to, poke a little fun at, as was called Aunt Hillary, if you will, that perception?
I think in a way it can kind of take the edge off the fact that Hillary really does have a major problem with reaching out to young voters. The fact that the president can joke about it, I think, is going to make it easier for her to joke about it a little bit and kind of try to humanize the fact that, yeah, she's not quite as hip as Obama was back in 2008. Of course, a joke he made that might hurt her even more is he said, to paraphrase, he said Bernie Sanders' motto is feel the burn, while Hillary's is trudge up the hill. And of course, that's a sense that a lot of Democratic voters have. I've covered Bernie Sanders a decent amount on the trail, talking to supporters, folks at rallies, and they seem quite chagrined, quite unenthused about the prospect of Clinton being the nominee.
Well, this actually trucks forward toward a nomination, putting state directors in key swing states, what we hear so far, at least Florida, New Hampshire, and Colorado. And when we look at this, Bernard, she's moving ahead, and those key infrastructures that need to be deployed throughout swing states as well as other states across the union as we look towards the general. Is she far ahead? Is that what it shows you?
I think it absolutely does, and I think that the real challenge is going to be trying to run a campaign against Donald Trump. Donald Trump has proven himself to be the most unpredictable candidate. Politics, like the market, typically does not like uncertainty. So she has got to establish a ground game, get that infrastructure in place, and be able to prepare a game playbook that's going to have to be able to be ripped up, thrown away, and really innovate as Donald Trump comes out with whatever insults, whatever one-liners, whatever sort of unconditional, unprincipled policies that he typically has.
Atypical, shall we say. And Betsy, when we put together those theoretical head-to-heads here, Clinton is leading Trump consistently between about 3 and 11 percentage points, at least in recent polls that we're looking at. Still seems to be pretty real to you?
I mean, look, anything is possible. And the reality is that people who have tried to game out how these elections and contests are going to play based on polling months before the contests happen are often wrong. Of course, the conventional wisdom that Clinton would have little trouble dispatching Trump, I think to an extent that holds up. I mean, look, the reality is you have to win states with large Hispanic populations if you want to be president, particularly Colorado, Virginia, and Florida. And Trump has spent the last year alienating Hispanic voters. It's going to be incredibly tough for him. That said, you know, looking back at this primary season, people who bet against Trump get disappointed.
And don't forget California, my friend, when we're talking about Latino American voters.
Exactly, right. So it's weird.
All right, Betsy, thank you so much. Bernard Whitman, thank you again as well.
Thank you, Richard.